Good evening, I'm Steve Savard. Let's get to the latest tonight on the story weighing heavy for so many across the Midwest. Right now, 17 are dead, 31 were on board when a duck boat sank last night in Table Rock Lake. Some victims remain unidentified at this hour. We can tell you that 2 victims are from St. Louis. William Asher and Rose Hammond were from South County. And within the last hour, the NTSB has told us they may have some concrete details on what happened in a week, but they say a full report will not come out for another year. News 4's team coverage continues tonight at 10, live from Table Rock Lake. My co-anchor Courtney Bryant leads off our crews that continue gathering the latest. Courtney?
Steve, our location right now is at the Ride the Ducks headquarters here in Branson near Table Rock Lake. There is quite a crowd still here. For the last couple hours, we've seen people come here bringing candles, flowers, just trying to remember the victims of this horrible tragedy in some respectful kind of way. If you take a look behind me, there's still quite a few people gathered around a car. These cars are really all that remains of some of the victims who died last night in the boating accident, and people are just leaving unimaginably beautiful tributes to these people. Flowers, candles, you see poster board with notes on them. Just so many people have come here and tried to just pay their respects. I want to show you what it looked like about an hour ago. People actually held an impromptu vigil, singing, praying, just gathering. I actually saw one family come up and lay hands on one of the cars here and just pray and ask God for some kind of comfort in this tragic situation, and that was just about an hour ago out here at the Ride the Ducks headquarters. Right now, we want to also send things over to our Vinton Blandon. He's been covering another vigil that's been going on, people remembering the victims at a local church here. Vinny?
Courtney, I am outside the Life Center at the Brookside Church here in Branson, which is about 10 miles from where you are, where that boat capsized. Just a few minutes ago, a vigil wrapped up. It lasted about 20 minutes, but the memorable thing here is the group of candles. 17 candles were here for all of the victims, and as it ended, many of the people here brought their candles that they held to participate to join those for the victims. Now, let's take a look at some of that video from earlier during that event. This was a vigil. It began with prayer. It also led into scripture. There was even a song for Amazing Grace at the end, but this was all a moment of bringing peace and calm and community togetherness. Now, many of the preachers spoke. This was an interdenominational one with several churches, and this all came together just this morning, but this was something the community felt they needed to do. And we talked with the youth minister, who was one of the organizers.
And so that's the biggest purpose for this, is just making sure that people understand that we're behind them and that we're supporting them and we're praying for them.
Now, even after the vigil ended, many of the people still hung around. They shared hugs, they took pictures, they talked to everyone, and they talked about the days moving forward. They said eventually all of this is going to go away, but they wanted to remember to be there for everyone, as everyone or most of the people forget what happened on the water. Reporting live in Branson, Missouri, Vinton Blandon, News 4.
2 of the confirmed dead were a couple from the St. Louis area. News 4's Ashley Lincoln caught up with some people who knew them and saw how they are remembering them tonight.
It's just going to be hard over the next couple of months to come to grips with why.
Questions consumed those who knew Rose Hammond and William Asher.
He was just fun-loving, party-going, and Rosie was the same way.
The couple were among 17 who died Thursday when the duck boat sank on Table Rock Lake.
It's devastating.
Earlier this week, Rose shared a happy post about celebrating her birthday with William. Friends say the couple was inseparable, traveling, dancing, just enjoying each other's company.
They're going to be truly, truly missed.
Denny Eads, Asher's friend for nearly 10 years, say they loved listening to the oldies together.
We spent many, many hours together.
Both Rose and William lived in the St. Louis area. William attended Central High School and Rose Cleveland. Eads says the couple would host annual luau-themed alumni parties at their home.
Very good friends. And I'm dealing with it.
He had the energy of a 40-year-old.
Jim Ropke was Asher's neighbor for more than 20 years.
Bill was such an integral part of the community here. He knew everybody. He was always happy, always had a smile, always willing to help out. That's by far the fondest memory, and what will stick with me for a long time.
I also spoke with Asher's daughter and ex-wife. They were too emotional to speak with us on camera, but are just devastated by this incident. Courtney.
Ashley, thank you. We are also learning horrible news today that one family, a family of 11, had 9 people out of their family, out of the 17 victims who died on the boat. Officials say all 9 of those people died on the boat, and we want to show you a picture of the family. They are from Indiana. Missouri Governor Mike Parson met with the 2 surviving members at the Cox Medical Center in Branson today.
It's difficult to find the right words to say other than your thoughts and prayers are with her, and try to comfort her as much as you possibly can. And there was a 13-year-old nephew of hers that survived also, and to go talk to him for a little bit. And needless to say, you know, they're still somewhat in shock of the incident.
Obviously, so many more questions just about how something like this could happen on the lake. I want to bring in News 4's Russell Kinsall. You've been looking into more of the details about how this tragedy unfolded.
And also looking at some of the victims. I just want to point out how remarkable this is. The show of support. The crowd's been growing throughout the evening. Some are from the Branson community. Some are vacationers in from out of town. Just wanted to show their support here. So of the 17 who died in this tragedy, 1 was an employee. The others were here from out of town on vacation. So the families who are mourning their loss are spread throughout several different states.
It didn't seem real, like a dream, and more of a nightmare when we found out.
Russ and Bev Eugenia are mourning the loss of their friend and neighbor, Bob Williams. He was one of the 2 duck boat employees on the boat that sank, but he didn't survive. The Eugenios say Williams was a person who always had a smile on his face and a kind word.
He loved children, he loved you know, the people in the community, and everyone loved him just as much.
One of the duck rides foundered and was sinking. There was people in the water that are being pulled out at this time.
The calls to 911 about a duck boat sinking started coming in at 7:09 Thursday evening. Visitors on the showboat Branson Belle that was nearby shot cell phone video of the duck boat being swamped by water and battered by high winds. Braden Mulaski was there too and saw the passengers fighting for their lives after the boat went under.
It was pretty horrifying, really.
He wanted to jump in to help, but was on the boat's top level.
If I could have helped, I mean, I would have. And we were standing up at the level that we were, and we saw a woman actually holding on to the paddle of the Belle.
Throughout the evening, crowds have been pouring into the parking lot of the duck boat business to pay tribute to the victims. At the back of the parking lot, the duck boat sits silent and dry. Leslie Dennison of Iowa was one of the 17 who died in the disaster, but her granddaughter survived. Dennison's son, Brian, told News 4's Emma Hogue that his mother is a hero for saving his niece.
My niece basically was telling my brother that my mother had picked up my niece and gave her to somebody. When she turned around, Grandma was gone.
Unbelievable. Brian Dennison said his mother loved Branson and brought her granddaughter here to treat her to a fun vacation. It is true that the family members of those lost in this tragedy may remember Branson as a place of deep sadness, but this crowd here and others want to send a message to them that they are loved and they are supported.
Yeah, it certainly sends a strong message without even saying a single word.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Russell. We've been out here all day just looking at some of these scenes of hope, of just you know, just a little glimmer of humanity amidst all of this tragedy and sadness here in a place that's normally for fun and for enjoyment for families. I saw a man earlier who is from the St. Louis area. He's from Arnold. He was in tears. He was so emotional. I just knew that he had lost a family member in this. And I talked to him and he said, I didn't know anyone. I've lived in Branson now for a few years, and it just really puts life in perspective. And he had one thing he wanted me to say. He said, he's from Arnold, and he said, tell Arnold to pray. He's just hoping for a little bit of support for this community here. Steve.
All right, Courtney, thank you. We'll be checking back with Courtney a little bit later in the show. It was a chaotic scene last night, obviously, after the duck boat went underwater, as first responders rushed to the scene. News 4 has obtained some of the 911 calls that were made, and you might find them difficult to listen to.
There's a mass casualty going on by the Branson Belle, multiple people in the water. We're going to be heading that way. One of the duck rides foundered and was sinking. There was people in the water that are being pulled out at this time.
This is not the first tragedy involving a duck boat. The Coast Guard requires them to be inspected each year. Investigative reporter Chris Nagus is looking through inspection records for the boat that sank and tells us why those boats can be hard to escape.
Oh, it's going under. Disturbing cell phone video shows the last moments of the vessel known as Stretch Duck 7. Inspection reports reveal it was built in 1944 and last inspected 6 months ago in February of this year. Thursday's deadly incident is rare, but not unheard of. In 1999, a duck boat sank in Hot Springs, Arkansas, killing 13. Just like the Table Rock incident, both boats had a canopy-style roof. In the Arkansas incident, the NTSB concluded the canopy roof contributed to the high loss of life because it trapped passengers as the boat sank. In Missouri, 22 duck boats are inspected by the Coast Guard each year.
We inspect them annually. We inspect the vessel from bow to stern, top to bottom, seaworthiness.
In the case of Stretch Duck 7, the latest inspection revealed no problems. Over the years, several incident reports have been filed. In 2005, the boat lost steering on Table Rock Lake with passengers on board. In 2011, a similar incident occurred. And in 2015, water entered the engine compartment as the vessel entered the water, resulting in a brief engine shutdown. None of the incidents were classified as serious by the Coast Guard. Operating one of these boats requires some level of skill.
You have to be a credentialed mariner.
The Coast Guard oversees crew training. Life jackets are on board, but the law doesn't require passengers to wear them. Chris Nagus, News 4.